Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price. I'm one of the two co-founders of Billy Footwear. And as I typically say, when we kick off Open Book is I love Open Book because Open Book gives us, we the brand of Billy Footwear, gives us the chance to share a little bit about our backstory, share a little bit about our journey, and share about various chapters of our journey. And oftentimes those chapters are filled with amazing collaborations. So today we are so honored. We have three amazing women joining Open Book, and I will introduce them just in a moment, but they are, they spearhead the MPS, National MPS Society. We have Bethany Greene, who is development and program support. We have Leslie, who is the director of family support. And we also have Stephanie, who is on the board of directors. So ladies, welcome to Open Book.
Thank you, Billy, for having us.
So I am really excited to dig in. I've been kind of biting my lip because there's so many questions I want to ask you. But I would say just a great place for us to start, and also education for both our viewers and our listeners, is Leslie, I'd love for you to kick it off. Like, can you tell us all about the National MPS Society?
Absolutely. So the National MPS Society is a this year anniversary organization that serves the United States. And we represent 11 different diseases, the mucopolysaccharidoses and mucolipidoses. And these are rare genetic lysosomal storage disorders, which means that the body is lacking or producing an insufficient amount of an enzyme that breaks down cellular waste products. And because of that, these cellular waste products build up in the cells and do progressive damage to the organs, to the brain, to bones and joints, different things for different individuals. So at the organization, our mission is to cure, support, and advocate for MPS and ML. And all of the things that we do at the organization fall under one or more of those tenets. So we provide programs for support for families throughout the journey to ensure that children have access to durable medical equipment that may not be covered by insurance or can travel out of state for appointments if needed, things like that. We have advocates on the federal, state, and local levels who work very hard to enact policy legislation and changes that benefit the rare disease community. And we do a significant amount in science and research to try to move that forward to develop treatments and potential cures as we keep going.
Wow. Okay. So Leslie, you just said so much stuff. I can't even imagine. Like there is so much in that. I mean, and talk about a huge undertaking for, I mean, it must just take a massive team. I mean, Stephanie, I'd love to throw it to you for a little bit. Like, Stephanie, how big is the team, and how, like, is it volunteer based, or are there more people that are just like on the like doing it full time?
So we do have full-time employees. Our staff is very, it's small. They're small but mighty. I would say we keep trying to add more people to our team. Right now, how many people would you say are in the office, Leslie?
Eight
people. We have anywhere between 12 to 15 board members at any given time. It is volunteer based as far as the board goes. So I serve on the board of directors, and I have since the end of 2019. And that's because my son, Ethan, has MPS I Hurler syndrome. And so he is directly affected by one of these rare diseases. And a lot of the board of directors are parents. There are some professionals on there now. We're starting to see a lot of people in our community wanting to be a part of our mission because it does positively affect so many lives. And so, does that answer your question? I feel like I'm going to start.
Yeah, that's perfect. Keep going.
A lot of it's volunteer based. It's a lot of work, but there's so much passion behind it, which makes it really easy for a lot of us to get behind and do it. The impact that we have it keeps us going. When you see a newborn screening patient caught at birth, and then treatment, and the positive effects from that, just from your advocacy work alone, like it just empowers us to like keep moving forward.
Well, I absolutely love that. And So Bethany, I want to throw it to you for a little bit. I mean, a general question is, I mean, it just seems like everyone's gotten involved because of some sort of touch point. I'm curious, how did you get involved?
That's a great question. I don't have any prior experience in rare disease specifically, so this was all new, and I'm still learning, and I think I'll always be learning, but have just a heart for nonprofits in general, and the opportunity came along to learn something new, but to be back in the nonprofit space, and I'm mission driven, so it just was like a win-win for me. But I think after starting with the National MPS Society, truly getting to know the families and those affected with MPS and ML, it makes you work even harder. So
yeah.
Well,
so I mean, Bethany, I was going to throw it to you one more time, just because, I mean, granted that 50 years in the making. I mean, first off, that is like, congratulations. That is very impressive. I mean, the amount of sweat, labor, and tears to be able to keep something going for that long, and the amount of value that has been served over 50 years, I'm sure is rather immeasurable. But Bethany, I mean, obviously there's something that drew you to this. And I would say, like, if you're able to see what's been accomplished over 50 years, what do you see as the next big things to tackle as the National MPS Society moves forward?
Those are big. I think one of the biggest things, and Stephanie and Leslie can probably expand on this a little bit, but our goal is to find a cure, and we don't have a cure. And so I think just with the advancements of what people are being treated with medically, I mean, that's the next step. And yeah, Stephanie and Leslie might have more to say about that, but I feel like that's the biggest thing, looking to the next 50 years, what can we accomplish?
Yeah. Well, Leslie, can you expand?
Sure. So part of my role as overseeing family support is to look at pre-diagnosis all the way through the lifespan. And then unfortunately in this situation, also covering bereavement and support for families too. But the shift that we've seen in 50 years is that we have individuals living into adulthood with these diseases, and that's tremendous. That part of our programs include a social worker traveling to meet with newly diagnosed families face-to-face. And I have a tiny footprint in that role. And it's just incredible to be able to go and meet with a family, because even if there are not treatments available for their child's disease, and we unfortunately have about half of our diseases that we represent that do not have a treatment approved for them, we can still talk about the good and the hope and the ability to make their child or in some cases a young adult's life better because of the knowledge of this disease and the ability to support them throughout the process. And so I think being able to see, I have so many conversations with new families that I just said the landscape is so different right now than it was when you read something written 50 years ago and you see a life expectancy of early teenage years for any of these diseases. That's not the case now. The case now is conversations into adulthood. What can we do for symptom management and long-term care? And how can we, through our programs, support some of these now young adults going to college who had early treatments and things that we just could not fathom 50 years ago.
Stephanie, can you touch on like when the diagnosis, when does that occur? I mean, is it typically, is it a sliding scale, like first, like right when you're first born, or is it later on? How does that work?
It depends. And there are a lot of factors that go into that. So each, like Leslie said, we encompass about 11 different syndrome types. And so as they progress, they're going to present at different ages. The more severe phenotypes will start to present in infancy. So my son's symptoms started appearing when he was about 3 months old. And he did not get a diagnosis until he was about 9 months old. So our diagnostic odyssey was about 6 months. And this is actually on the shorter side for most individuals. And the diagnostic odyssey is going to vary, and that's going to vary because of screening tools that are available or not available in each state. It's going to vary on the the wait list just to be seen by a geneticist or a specialist, and then making sure that you're seeing physicians who are aware of these diseases. And that's difficult because they are so rare. We are seeing that there is an increase in early diagnosis with newborn screening, which is one of the things that our advocates have had a stronghold in on both the national and state level. I am proud to say that basically all but 5 states currently are screening for, or will be screening for MPS 1 by 2025, thanks to a lot of our advocacy efforts. And now states are starting to screen for MPS 2. And we are trying to get more of these conditions on these newborn screening panels so that we can detect it sooner, just because this is the fail safe. We can't expect every pediatrician to know the signs and symptoms of this disease. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Leslie? I know that you speak to a lot of families at different ages. I know also depending on whether the disease, if there is some enzyme, but maybe not enough of it, they're going to present later in life. I know we've seen some diagnosis even up into their 70s with MPS 1 who have very attenuated forms of this. And we're catching that through, I believe it's like ophthalmologists are catching it because the way that the disease presents at that age. So it does vary depending. And so we're just trying to find these safeguards for families to get early detection through newborn screening. Leslie, was there?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add is that we, it is much easier to prevent symptoms from occurring than to treat them after they've already occurred. So the goal for newborn screening is to diagnose and treat before symptoms develop or present. Those that do not have newborn screening, which is a number of our diseases, the hallmark of these conditions is often typical development in different areas and then regression. So whether that's in a cognitive component where you feel like your child is learning words, they're doing okay with potty training, and then all of a sudden they're losing these skills. Those are the regressive components and the hallmarks of these conditions. And that's what we want to try to diagnose before that starts to happen. So in some of our conditions that have more of an orthopedic base, we're starting to see, I had one mom that shared, I was changing my child's diaper and I just felt her hips popping. And that's what led me to notice, hey, we need something. We need to check on something. Just the presentation of symptoms that just don't seem to fit. And it's an add up of, they have a chronic runny nose and always ear infections, and we're taking tonsils and adenoids out, and their belly's rounder, and they're having trouble breathing at night, and then they're losing some of the things that they had previously gained. So that's unfortunately a lot of the times when these kids get diagnosed, but those are really the big red flags for NPS.
Gotcha. As you're describing this, I mean, it takes me a bit down memory lane. I mean, I don't have a connection, direct connection to necessarily what you're referring to. However, I do know that in my case, when I broke my neck from a spinal cord injury, I got a spinal cord injury, I was given the information that I would not be able to walk again. So it went from being a fiercely independent person to someone that was very dependent. And when you get that information, it's like, well, that wasn't part of my plan. And it just becomes one of those deals where you have to try to process it, process the unprocessable, if that's even like a word. And it's very hard. And you ask these questions of yourself, like, why me? Which is a very unanswerable question. So the part that is really warming my heart so much, that what you're touching on is, yes, you're talking about like the symptoms and like early prevention and screening, but the part that I was also hearing is just the community to be able to be that ear to hear and that ear to listen, and not necessarily be in a position to actually give like an answer to the solution to the problem, but to be there with compassion and just say, I hear you, I understand, this is hard, and we'll get to it together. I'm sure, Leslie, being on the family side, I'm sure you've taken a lot of those calls. And Stephanie, I'm sure, you can relate as well, because you got a curveball you weren't expecting.
Yeah. And I think, earlier today had a phone call with a family that just shared something extremely traumatic. And in speaking with them, I said, the thing is, I do not have an answer for you, but I want you to understand that we all will sit with you in that and give you space where you can, in an unfiltered way, share everything that you're going through. And sometimes that's the biggest thing that we can offer to each other, no matter what this journey looks like. Everybody, MPS or not, has curveballs thrown in their lives that make no sense. And you need people that will just sit there and sit with you and be with you in that. And I think that's, as humans, the biggest step we can take to supporting one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stephanie?
I think I've made the best friends I'll ever make in my entire life. Lifelong friends. Being a new parent and receiving a diagnosis that your son has a terminal condition and it's going to be progressive, and reading the materials that he's not going to live past 5 or 10. Don't Google, you're going down these rabbit holes, and, you do ask yourself, why me? Why us? And, my way of just being able to reconcile all of that is just, taking that cross, bearing it, but then trying to make the next family's journey in this just a little bit better, and putting that time and that effort and that energy to get that newborn screening added, or to be there for a new diagnosis and help guide them through some of the scariest moments of their life. That's how I reconcile this. And this community, like you said, is amazing. It is among the most inspiring individuals I've ever met. And I love them with my heart, and their stories and their voices, and just empowering them to be able to share that. And they just put so much good out in this world. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And I'm proud of our team who's here, who dedicates their lives and so much of their time. They don't work just 40-hour weeks, they're in this with us. And, our families and our kids, the mission means something to them too. And, just like you said, it's just, being there and a part of something greater than yourself. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening in right now. They want to know where they can find you. So everyone, let me throw some stuff up on the screen right here. One is, here's the website. So the website is, if you're watching this, you can see it's up on the screen right now. But for those who are listening in, it's mpssociety.org. So I'll spell it out: mpssociety.org. That's a fantastic place to go to not only get resources, but get connected and learn more about what's going on. And then when it comes to social, check it out on Facebook. The Facebook handle is at National MPS Society. So spelling that out, NATIONAL MPS SOCIETY. So you guys, I want to be respectful of your time. I could talk to you guys probably forever, but I do want to ask just one more question. Everyone that's listening in, everyone that's watching this, they're probably going to ask the question, one, how can they get connected? But two, how can I support? So, Bethany, I wanted to throw this to you. Is there anything coming up, ways that, those who are listening in right now can help support the National MPS Society?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of avenues where that people can play a role. We do, just in general, have national runs over the country, different times throughout the year. And it's usually labeled on our website for people to find. But obviously coming to that and supporting, just to get connected to, we always have families there. So we can share just about the National MPS Society and what it is. We also have, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. We're having a national conference coming up in December, the weekend before Christmas, just for an opportunity for our families all over the country to come together and to support the way that Stephanie and Leslie were talking about, just to be there for each other and just to see each other again. And I mean, truly the support that people give through donations and just word of mouth all help fund people to come to these conferences. And that's a big thing. So we were able to provide the resources because of people's donations and their support in that way. And I know I wouldn't be doing Stephanie justice if I didn't say anything about advocacy and that sort of support. Just learning and talking about it and making people aware of what MPS and ML are is so huge. The awareness factor with it being a rare disease is extremely important to us and to our mission.
Awesome.
So make sure to check out our website at mpssociety.org. There's a donate button. It's usually at the top. There are several ways that you can give if you go to the drop-down menu. And check out some of our courage pages for each of our individual families that are trying to raise money. You can also donate specifically to family support programs to help continue from diagnosis to after passing. And you can also donate to our advocacy efforts as well as research. So you can be very intentional with your donations.
And Leslie, want to close this out?
I just thank you all for taking a few minutes to listen to our conversation and with Open Book, and just for learning about this organization and learning about these diseases. I think that's often our biggest hurdle to overcome is in the rare disease world. You know, we have 1 in 10 people have a rare disease. And so that's a high number. But that also means that there are a lot of conditions that are impacting people around us. And so I think being able to have a platform like this to be able to share and talk about these conditions and what it means to not only have support, not only advocate, but also to have research. And that sometimes with rare diseases like this, we are often the toughest nuts to crack, but figuring out what works in things like gene therapy and enzyme replacement therapies and things trickle down to treatments for cancers and other conditions that are much more common. And so that's a lot of the work and the research that we do. So I just want to thank everybody for the time that you've taken to hear about this. And again, just feel free to connect with us through mpssociety.org. And we're just thrilled to be a part of your journey and your day.
Well said. I absolutely love it. So everyone else, once again, up on the screen, we have the website. So it's mpssociety.org, mpssociety.org. And then also check them out on Facebook, which is National MPS Society. So NATIONAL, MPS SOCIETY. You guys, this was awesome. Thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Everyone else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. I learned a lot. So this is absolutely incredible. So we'll have another episode of Open Book again really soon. So until then, take care.